Okay, hello everyone. Thank y'all for joining us again for the session, Social Skills, Careers, College, and Citizenship with Martha Salcedo. If you haven't had a chance to meet Martha, here's a little bit about her. She graduated from Angelo State University in 2004 with a double major in psychology and communications, and in 2017 with her master's in applied psychology. In 2006, she accepted her first teaching position as a special education teacher for Junction High School, and later in 2008 as a family consumer science teacher at Brady High School, where she taught for 9 years. In 2016, she was named the Secondary Texas Teacher of the Year and was awarded the HEB Excellence in Leadership. 5 years ago, she accepted a position here at Region 15, where she currently works as an education specialist in federal programs. Let me see, are you in? Just about. Okay, she's about to come in. I first saw Martha in a presentation she gave before she joined the service center. And I remember sitting in the back row and thought, oh my gosh, this girl is amazing. Everybody needs to hear her. And so she has joined us. And welcome, Martha. Hopefully I didn't mess up the speakers to where like there's that funny noise, but if there is, we have some friends in here. We're all friends. And so just tell us it's making a funny sound. So thanks, Martha. Thank you for presenting today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm excited for this opportunity. And I'm going to tell you right now, Monica's hyped me up way, way, way too much. But with saying that, I'd like to just welcome you. I hope you had a fantastic lunch. I know I did, rushing in here to try to get here to present today. And so I'm going to share my screen right quick with you guys so we can get started. Can you see that, friends? Yes. Yeah, the whole thing. Give me just a second.
I can put music on.
No, you're okay.
They can see my Zumba skills again.
I had to hear about Monica's Zumba skills. We'll spare y'all. Okay, so first and foremost, like I said, I want to thank all of you for being here today. I'd like to just kind of rumble through here and get some things going. I won't let Monica play music. But anyways, let's get moving and we'll jump on to the next one. I'm trying, give me just a second. Let me stop sharing and let me try this again.
I mean, unless you want it, like we all see. We're okay with that.
Let's see what Monica can. Okay, is that a little bit better? It'll work?
Yeah.
Okay, so I do have a disclaimer out there. Okay, so the information that I'm going to provide to you today in this presentation is just designed to help you to understand your child or your children just a little bit better and to learn about some skills that that could benefit in their development as they transition on through school and into college and into career, and also teaching them just in general how to be good citizens. I wish that I could say that this was all of my work and things like that, but I came across Dr. Tony Wagner several years ago, and I really liked what he had to share about helping our kids develop certain skills so as they get older, they're ready to tackle the big bad world. And so that's what I'm sharing with you guys today. If you see the little asterisk up there, I do have a really, really important note here, and that is that despite how wonderful Monica says I am, I have no magic wand for creating perfect children. And so today, I'm just like the rest of you in here, either a teacher or a parent who's trying to do the very best that they can for their child. And so that's what I kind of wanted to share today. Like Monica said, my name is Martha Salcedo, and I'm an education specialist here at Region 15. But before my big arrival here, I was a high school FCS teacher, so family consumer science teacher, and I dabbled in with some special education. And I've been a mom for just over 25 years now. And so today, I'm coming to you from the approach of being a teacher and being a mom. And so I am an ambassador of education. I really, really am. And more importantly, I want to share with you today that I'm an ambassador for kids. I'm an ambassador for your kids. I truly believe that every kid can be a star. They just need to learn how to shine. And so that's why you're here for the last couple of days. You're trying to come up with new things and ways to understand your kids better. And so we're very thankful. So speaking of shining, I want to give you a chance to shine a little bit. So I have a little assignment for you to do just before we get started. And that is, I know there's not many of you in here, but if you could just put in the chat your name and how many kids you have and their ages. You don't have to give me their names and everything. And then what's the one thing you hope for them as they grow older? I would love to see that. So let me just give you a couple of minutes to do that. So Monica shared she's got 3 bad babies.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you could put in how many children you have or and their ages, and what is the one thing you hope for your kids as they get older and they become young adults? What's the one thing you want for them? All right, so awesome. The great thing about being in this group is I'm looking today, and we have some really, really a wide range of kids. So anywhere from littles all the way up to our 25-year-olds. We have a 23-year-old, and everybody seems to want really great things for their kids. And so this presentation really isn't tailored for elementary or middle school or high school. It's about all of our kids. And so I think it's going to be a perfect little fit in helping you maybe come up with just some new strategies and things to help your kids. So thank you all for sharing. Okay, so we look at today's agenda. What we're going to look at is just a few things that makes your child or your children special, and then we're going to talk about 7 skills. So I'm not going to keep you here for like 5 hours. It's going to be a short and brief little thing about how we can do things to help our kids develop as they get older. So I want to start with 3 things, and these are 3 things that make your child or children really special and unique besides you being their parent. And what we're briefly going to talk about is talents, strengths, and character strengths. And sometimes when you put all 3 of these together, the water gets a little muddy because they are very similar to each other at times. And so my hope today is to provide you with some clarity and clarification on how to see these things in your kids and how to develop them. So I want to start off with talents over here. So talents are defined as your natural aptitudes or skills. Simply put, these are the things that you're good at. Okay. And talents can develop at an early age. They can come later on. And it's the one thing that most people see in us. They see our talents. They see what we are capable of doing. So you might hear things out there like, oh my God, that kid is a natural athlete. Or that kid is so talented at writing or things along those lines. And that doesn't necessarily sound like a bad thing. In fact, as a parent, that's a great thing to hear about our kids. But to every bright side, we also have to look at the other side of things. So what do I need to know about talents that's important? Well, talents are things that we're good at, but we don't have to always enjoy them. So let's think about it for a second. I'm going to try to keep you active because I know you ate lunch. And if you ate like me, you got a full tummy, and I'm going to try to keep you from not sleeping. So what I want you to think about is think about something that you're good at. Okay. It might even be a natural talent. Right. I want you to share that. But think about something that you're good at that you don't enjoy doing. So if you could share that in the chat, I'm interested in seeing this. So think of something that you're good at. People have even said, man, you're so good at that, but you don't necessarily enjoy it. And I know Tammy and Mercedes are giggling right now looking at Monica's answer. Thank you, Maria. Maria says, I like to cook. I mean, I'm a good cook, but I don't like to cook. Cooking and baking. Thanks, Lori, for sharing. Oh, Mercedes, I'm good at numbers, but really not really liking math at all unless it's Excel. And I will tell you, she's wonderful at Excel. So the reason that I got you thinking about this, and I think those of you who shared a little bit, is because I want you to think for a second, how can this be bad for our kids? So just hold that thought for just a second. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay. Because sometimes people in authority, people who might be coaches, people who our kids look at role models, even sometimes us as adults will see talents in our kids. And without having those conversations about whether or not they enjoy that or not, we may push and we may force, or we may set expectations that are high, and our kids are doing maybe something that they don't enjoy. So tell me, give me a why if you've in the chat, if you ever heard of somebody say that kid is living through their parent, or that parent is living through their kid, or that kid hates what they're doing. They're only doing it because somebody's making them do it. I'm waiting for those whys to come in, because I know personally, I have been around people and I've seen that. And I'm guilty of it, really, when you think about it. In high school, not when I was quite this round, I was a little bit thinner. I loved playing sports. Okay, sports was my thing, but basketball was my life. But I was pretty good at a lot of things. So my dad made me do other sports, and he made me run track, and he made me do those things, and I hated it. I just didn't enjoy it. And what it did for me is it took away a lot of my passion. That maybe I could have been a runner, which later on in life I did become a little bit of a runner, and then I had to stop doing that. But it wasn't until those expectations set back that I was able to really truly enjoy that. So, Martha, why are you telling me this, and what is the purpose of this? Well, the reason that I'm sharing this with you today is because I think it's important that we understand that our kids are going to have talents, and they're going to have things that they're really good at. We need to talk to them about how they feel about those talents when we recognize them. Hey, you're really great at that. So is that something you really like? Or, and kids will talk. They're going to tell you if they really like something. So you want to keep an eye on things like that. Now, I also want to tell you there's a good side to that, because when kids start sharing and talking about things that they love, you can take those talents and you can turn them into their strengths. Okay, so strengths are the character traits or skills that are considered positive. And these include our knowledge, our attributes, our skills, and our talents. I like to call this our talent DNA. And our strengths are are positive, and they mean that much to us because of these things below, because we invest our time in it, we get energized, we put our energy into it, and then we're passionate about it. We love it. We love being a part of it and doing it. And that's why those things become our strengths. The really cool thing is that once you identify those talents and you start to help make those strengths in your kids, you can continue to grow their strengths. Now, I have a really awesome source down here for you. It's going to disconnect me from there. This is a little article about strengths-based parenting. So Gallup does a number of assessments, and one of the assessments that they do is on helping you define your strengths. And so not only is this great as an adult, but you can start around the age of 10 taking these exams for your kids and finding out what their strengths are. I'm going to be honest with all of you guys today. So 2 weeks ago, one of our professors assigned this to us. Okay. I'm going to be honest. I'm 45 years old and I'd never taken a strengths assessment. And it was really interesting to see what I tested high in. And it was interesting because some of the things that I thought I was really good at were on the lower level of my strengths. And so as I think about these things and I think about my strengths, I think about how I might want to improve them and do better. And so this has got a great article. It's got a book on strengthening and how parents can do that and how you can help support your kids through that. But it's an amazing little article. Won't take that much time and has some great things in there. All right. So it looks like my presentation took off on me. Let's try that again. So I'm going to tell you right now while I'm working on this, and I'm going to let you giggle because I can't hear any of you. One of my strengths is adaptability. And so when things like this happen, I don't really get frazzled because as parents and as teachers, we know that no 2 days are alike. And if they are, well, I'm sorry. So most 2 days aren't alike. And so things like this are going to happen. And so we have to understand that. Oh no, we're not going to listen to any more of Monica's music. She'll probably put some reggaeton on here for us in a second. So when you're looking at your strengths, you really want to help them improve that. That's a great source for you. And then lastly, I want to look at character strengths. So character strengths, have you ever wondered as a parent, oh my God, you're more like your dad or you're more like me? These are a big part of who you are. This is your personality, and it impacts how you think, how you feel, and how you behave. And so the cool thing about the resources that I have here for you to check out is that this one is free. And so you can go in there and you can take a look at what are some of the strengths your kids have. And so a couple of psychologists in the early 2000s came together and they decided that they wanted to look at positive. Like we're always focusing on negative things. And they were like, so let's focus on the positive things about people. And what they decided to do was to look at people across the world and come up with these 24 character strengths that we have. So just like we all have 2 eyes, a nose, 2 ears, and a mouth, these character strengths are the same for everybody. But just like your eyes may be a different color than mine, or your nose is a different shape than mine, these character strengths are in different orders depending on the person. So we all possess them, but my 5 top character strengths may not be the same as Monica's top 5. And so it's really great to go in there and see these things because you really get an idea of how your kids think and how they feel about themselves. And what you might find is that their number one strength is kindness. And that maybe that might have not been something that you had or knew, or bravery or things like this. So it's a really neat test that you can go in there and you can learn a little bit more about your kids. Okay, so now that we kind of got an idea of how our kids kind of grow up and they develop and they have these amazing talents that we can turn into strengths and they have these little beings of who they are, I wanted to come in and talk about these 7 skills. Well, I called it social skills, and then I said, no, these aren't social skills. When you actually look at these, I look at them as, survival skills. Okay, so these are things that our kids need in order to to survive. Okay, so Dr. Tony Wagner, who was a former English teacher, he was a principal, a professor. He worked on several projects at Harvard. He's an author and now an international presenter. Decided when he was working on a project at Harvard, he wanted to learn more about what is it that our kids need. And so this research brought on a conversation with major CEOs and other experts in the field. And they just started interviewing people and saying, what is it that you're looking for most? And they talked to college professors and so on. And what they did was they came up with these 7 skills that I'm going to share with you guys today. And so the question that we need to ask ourselves is, so what is it that our kids need to know? Nothing. The internet knows everything. No, I'm just teasing. There are some really, really important things, but I am going to say this. The fact that our kids can get everything so quickly has hindered some things. And I think that because Dr. Tony Wagner saw these things in the group of CEOs and psychologists and researchers that they were working with, they knew that we were going to have a problem down the line. And so they decided to share these 7 skills. And so what they found out was that college professors, CEOs, leaders do not care about what your kids know. What they care about is what your kids can do with what they know. Okay? So they don't care about how much they know. They just want to know what can they do with what they know. And that's a pretty strong sentence when you sit there and you think about that for a second. So what I want to share with you is very brief, because what Dr. Wagner and all of these CEOs and college professors found out is that we have an issue. We have a challenge that is in front of us. And because we have a generation that has grown up with the access of technology and the internet, and answers are always available, it's almost safe to say that our kids might suffer from something called answeritis. And that is that, and just think about it for a second. When I say that, answeritis, that means that kids know where to find the answer if it's on the internet or something like that, or they wait for the answer. So as a mom, you tell me if you've, or as a parent or as a teacher, if you've ever experienced this. So you give your kid something to work on, or a student something to work on, and as soon as they complete the task, they stop moving forward. What are they waiting for? Anybody in the chat want to tell me what they're waiting for? Okay, so Monica's on mute, but she said what they're waiting for is the next step. What they're waiting for is, validation. They're waiting for an answer, because that's what they're used to having. They're waiting for somebody to tell them what to do next. And so when we look at these kind of things, this is what we're going to talk about later on. We're going to talk about what we can do to help our kids move forward. And speaking of moving forward, the world is not stopping. And so this is just a glimpse of what our kids have to deal with here in the future. And I can guarantee you this is probably not going to play because of the deal that I'm in. So Monica, unmute and sing a little bit. No, I'm going to save you all that. Y'all close your eyes. Okay. Let me see if I can jump on here. Let me see if this will work. And if it doesn't, then I'm going to tell you about it. So what this screen is it is talking about how the world is moving with technology, and how we are seeing jobs that maybe even 10 years ago, that the most important thing was this. Now the most important thing is this. And so what we're seeing are jobs that are being sent offshore, or they're being ran by machines and things like that. And so this is the hard truth. In this new global economy where we have routine jobs, whether they're white collar, blue collar, or service jobs, they're being sent offshore, like I mentioned, and they're being sent other places. And so why I think what Dr. Wagner and them realized is that this was an issue that we were having, and what can we do to help our kids with what they need to know for the future? So of course they came out with these 7 survival skills that they believe that every student should uh, be able to do. And so let me scroll here. So here's the first one. The very first one is critical thinking and problem solving. So why is this important? Well, I can tell you that any company or any organization that's competing and is successfully competing and doing well and they're successful, they're utilizing the workers that they have around them for continuous improvement. So what are they looking for? Well, they want kids, they want employees that know information and can apply it and put it to work. They want employees that can think of improvement. So if I do a project, I'm going to reflect on that and I'm going to think about what I can do better. And then they want employees that are asking the right questions. What do we need to do in the next step or the next future? And so critical thinking is all about thinking about things through and how you can make things better. And so there's a couple of things here I like with this was one of the senior executives from Dell that they interviewed, and he says yesterday's answers won't solve today's problem. And so we want our kids to be able to think of different things. So I'm going to share a little personal story. When my son was a freshman in high school, um, it was a Saturday morning, and I needed to mow the lawn. And I got up early and got the lawnmower up and going and everything. And I told my son, Tristan, you only have one job today. All you need to do is take out the fence stakes. Okay, so I had a fence and they had some poles and there's some stakes. I said, just take them out for me. That's all I need you to do. And there were only like 4. So of course he looked at me and looked at the lawn and said, yeah, I got you, Mom. This is easy. Okay, here's what he didn't know. The guy who put them in was a fencer. Okay. So they're going down pretty deep when he do that. So he came outside. He's a freshman in high school. He's at that age where the most important thing is his muscles. Every day I have to see them because they're getting bigger every single day. So the first thing he used as soon as he got out there to pull out those stakes was his strength. He shook from side to side. He tried to pull it up and everything. Well, of course, how did I react? I'm mowing the lawn. I have my earbuds on. And just like the people at the mall in the middle, I did not want to make eye contact with him. I wanted him to be able to solve this on his own. So I left him there, watching him out of the corner of my eye. I want to see how he's going to do this. And I could tell he was getting really frustrated because he kept looking at me. Well, he sat down, he got back up thinking I'll just re-get my muscles ready. You know, they're developing every second, but nothing. So then I saw him take off straight to the garage. He came out and he had a shovel. I thought, "Ooh, that's impressive." So he starts digging around this stake. Okay. And he takes pretty good, but he's not far enough to go down yet. And there he goes again with his strength, and he's trying to pull this thing out and work really hard, and nothing. And he keeps looking at me. By this time, I'm nearly done with the whole yard. Okay. I'm going to tell you, I've got 2 backyards, so it's big. And I'm nearly done. And I'm just watching him. He's sweating. It's hot, and I'm enjoying every second of this. Okay. He works for about a good 40 minutes and can't get anything. This is on the first one, folks, on the very first one. So then I see him go sit down, and he sits there for about 10 minutes. And then it was like me watching a little light bulb go off in his head. I saw him kind of get this little grin, and he got up, he walked around the corner of the house, and he grabbed the water hose, and he brought it all the way back over there, and he soaked the fence where he had been trying to pull that out. And he gave it a good soak, I mean, a good bit. And then he went and turned it off, and he came back and he wiggled that stake, and it came right out. Gosh, you guys, you would have thought my kid had just scored 1 billion touchdowns. He was so excited. And you know what I did at that moment as a mom? I thought to myself, he he might make it after all without me. That was my thought. This kid might survive. All right. So when we think about critical thinking and problem solving, we want our kids to be able to work through things and figure things out on their own so that they can have that kind of success from doing that. So what I have here are a couple of really great resources. This one has some really awesome games. You know how your kids want games for the computer or their phones? There's some games here that help with some critical thinking, but I'm going to show you all this one because this one is my favorite. So as a teacher in high school, I love doing things like this, especially when I signed, we were talking about, leadership and how to be a good team player and things like that. So what I would do, and I know y'all are all reading this, is that I would take my kids and I would divide them up into groups. Okay. And then I would go through this and I'd say, okay, guys, here's what happened. Y'all have all survived a plane crash. Okay. Both the pilot and the co-pilot have died in this crash. It's mid-January. You're in northern Canada. The daily temperature is 25 below zero. And at night, it goes 40 below zero. There's snow on the ground. The countryside is wooded. There's several creeks that you have to cross over, but the nearest town is 20 miles away. You are all dressed in city clothes, ready for a big meeting that you were about to have. But here is what y'all managed to put together, 12 items. So here are the 12 items. And then what I have them do is I have them list which one is the most important, all the way down to which one you think you probably don't need, least relevant. And I'm going to tell you, the conversations that my students had were absolutely incredible because I just don't have a small axe. We have to think about what we can do with that axe. We have to, and so what they're doing is they were sharing ideas with each other about experiences they've had, things that they've read, different stories. And so they would go through this whole process. And then there's a scoring down below that lets them know how they did. And so it's a really cool thing. Now, do y'all all remember the list? I'm going to show it to you one more time. Just out of curiosity, what does this group think is the number one thing? Put it in the chat. I'm just so curious. And I'm going to tell you why I love this exercise too, because the kids, not only would I find the leaders in the groups and kids would have great conversations, but I always thought if anything ever happened, I'd know exactly what kid to call if we were coming to a crisis around us. So anybody have any thought or idea about what would be the number one thing here? And this is a military trained exercise. Oh, Lori says it's a compass by far.
Whiskey.
End of the afternoon, Monica says it's whiskey. Okay, so I'm going to move on, but guess what? I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'll let you know later what that number one answer was. Okay, and I didn't do those. My kids didn't give the number one answers. It's a military trained exercise, and so there's proven work to it. But the cool thing is, like I said, the kids had a really great time doing it and going through the exercise. All right, so the next thing is collaboration with others and the ability to be a leader through influence. Teamwork is no longer in a building. It's no longer in a room. We do teamwork in the state. We do teamwork in the country. We do teamwork internationally. And so I think it's really important for our kids to understand. And I think, Tony, Dr. Wagner and them understood this, that we are no longer just building companies vertically. These companies are built horizontal. And because of the last 2 crazy years that we had with COVID, we've all learned how important technology is and how we can utilize it to make us better and stronger. And so, but when we think about understanding teamwork, I think the most important thing is respect. And that is understanding that we are all different. And that our kids need to be respectful of the people that they work with, because our cultures are different, our religions, our genders, our race, our ethics. And so having those conversations with your kids are really important so that they understand that they may be working with people of all different shapes, sizes, and all of those other things that I mentioned above. Okay. The second one is leadership. So lead by influence. This is an emerging thing that's coming into the forefront because this structure of command and control is kind of sort of evaporating. And what I mean by that is that we're seeing that sometimes the most effective person in the room isn't leading by a position of authority. Rather, they're leading by their ability to engage people and to ask the right questions. And so I thought that was pretty cool. When we talk about technology, and that was one of the things that I mentioned, it has been a blessing, but we know that it also has a little bit of the dark side as well. And it's been a little bit of a curse in that sense. I mean, when we think about how many times that we're distracted by our phones or other things that are happening around us. So I have a colleague that I was talking to not too long ago, and she said, "Oh my God, how do people do it? Like, how do you sit down and do work at home if I have my cell phone there and every second I'm looking at YouTube videos and TikTok and things like that?" And so I kind of mentioned to her that it was probably an age thing for me, but I didn't grow up with those things. So it's easy for me to unplug and put my phone other places. But our kids have grown up with technology. And so we need to be able to help them master technology, because if we don't, technology is going to end up mastering them. And so some of the things that we can pay attention to is when we look at how much time they spend on that and things like that and making that quality time. I heard a speaker this morning and she was talking about this lag that happens when you're trying to resume. So when you're working with a project and your phone keeps going off, well, you go over there, you answer the call. Maybe it's Monica sending you a TikTok video and you look at it. Might take you a little bit of time to get back to your assignment, but then ding, it goes off again and you run back over there and heck, Tammy, your Amazon packet just arrived. And so you go over there, you check it out, and then you come back. And so she talked about this lag and how much sometimes we waste time. And so what I have right here for you, and I'm not going to click into it, but it's a really awesome resource about little things that you can do to help with your phone and to help your kids. One of my favorites is called Flipped. And what that does is you can dedicate a certain amount of time, and it's an app in your phone. So you can say from 1 to 1:30, I want my phone to be turned. No messaging, no nothing, none of that happens. And so maybe your kid's got a big assignment and maybe they struggle with putting their phone in the kitchen because, we got to have it close to us. So you could use Flipped. You could have it stay off for an hour and that kid would have their phone next to them, but they'd still be working. So it's like having that teddy bear, kind of like this little girl right here. Okay, so number 3 is agility and adaptability. Agility is the ability to think and act quickly, and adaptability is the ability to adjust in new situations. And I can tell you right now, college will be an ever adapting world for your kids as they get ready to transition, even from middle school to high school. That's a big transition. But when you think about them going to college, they're going to have to adjust to those new living arrangements. They're going to have to adjust to classes, even just the freedom of them being alone and not having to worry about being home at a certain time and doing my homework at a certain time and eating dinner at a certain time. So all of those things, that adaptability and that agility will help. If we can develop these in our kids, it'll help them with situations like that. And I promise you, wait until the first time they call home when they're sick. Oh my God, where are you, Mom? Where's my chicken soup? So we want to teach our kids how to be able to adapt to situations like that. And when we think about employment, job places are always changing, whether it's new faces, new positions, new products, or even maybe a building moving, so new locations or having to go somewhere else. So it's crucial for our kids to know how to work, not just across departments, but across issues as well. So if you recall earlier, my hope was for my child to be adaptable. This is what I want for him, because I want him to know that there are multiple avenues in life, because we all know that living in this world isn't easy. I want him to understand that it's okay to run into things, but he can think of other ways to do things. And a great way to help your kids, if you have these young ones, for those of you, I think I saw our youngest ones are like 5 and 7 years old, learning that failure is just something that happened. We can do better. That's just one thing. I think about it as like shooting hoops. If I shoot a hoop and I miss or I fail, I shouldn't quit. I'll never score any points that way. So we have to be willing to take those other shots. So I think that's so important to teach our kids when we think about things like that, is that it's not the end of the world if you don't get a trophy or if you don't win or if you fail. It just means that we need to reflect on what we did and how we can do it better. And what this does is it creates hope. So hope is not just an emotion. Hope is an action. So when we think about hope, we think about agencies and pathways. So agencies refer to there's a goal I want or something I want. I'm going to go this route one, but something got in my way. So now I'm going to go down a different route, and then I'm going to go down a different route. Okay. We all learn ways to handle problems. What we want to teach our kids is how to utilize these multiple agencies. We want to help them develop agencies. We want them to know that when they hope for things, they can go get those things. And even if something comes up in their life that feels like a challenge, there's another way. Okay. Pathways is the belief that I can do it. Okay. So you believe that you can do that even when the worst thing seems to happen. So today I was out eating lunch because I told Monica I need to go out and I need to de-escalate. Let me go out. I'm going to go to the park. So I had a ding come on my phone that said the presentation was at 1. I had it in my calendar for 2:00. Okay. So my panic button was hit and I thought, oh my God, let me just get there. I called Monica. Monica goes, we'll play some music. I'll hold them. We'll do what we got to do. So being able to come up with multiple ways when life gets complicated, we all need that. And for a lot of us in the room, we probably learn that through life, through bad experiences. I know I did personally. I mean, I went from cleaning houses, I sold Kirby vacuum cleaners, okay, to becoming a teacher. I worked as a nurse's aide. I was a waitress. All of you are probably the same. We learned all of these challenges. We faced them and we went through, and it created not just grit in us, but it created agencies. And the cool thing is, what if we didn't have to take our kids all the way through that? What if we could teach them these things ahead of time so they didn't have to be Applebee's waitress, or they didn't have to go through something horrible? If we could teach them these things along the way in life and give them little challenges, we can start creating these agencies. So when life does throw them something hard, they'll be ready because they believe in themselves. So a couple of cool things here. I've got, you can take a test to see how you are with hope and how much hope you have, which I thought was pretty cool. And then there's an article on hope that you guys can check out as well. That's got some great things.
And I'll email it to the group after this presentation.
Okay. All right. So thanks, Monica. I'm going to see if I can find my PowerPoint. Okay. So number 4 is the initiative in entrepreneurialism. So that initiative is the ability to go out and to want to take lead. That's a hard thing, but think about it, how you can do that as a family. You know, you can say, hey, tonight, Kate is in charge of deciding how we're going to do dinner and laying everything out. He's going to decide who's going to help put the table together and who's going to do this. So teaching our kids to be leaders and to take initiative, we get them excited about things. And so this one's a really important one too, because as they get older in college, they'll want to take on tasks or join organizations and be a part of that. And of course at work, it's amazing. You know, you want that to have that initiative. You want somebody who's willing to say, hey, I'll do it. I'm not afraid to take it on. Okay. And the next one is being an entrepreneur. So a person who organizes, operates, and assumes a business venture. Okay. So the truth here, Has anybody in here ever had a lemonade stand? And it's okay if you haven't. Lori says yes, that she had a lemonade. Yeah. Yes, Ruby did too.
I didn't, but my kids have been asking me to have a lemonade stand for them. I just,
Okay. So the reason I ask this is because it's good to let kids take on little things like this. They're taking ownership. Okay. I'm sure that both Lori and Ruby felt really proud, not just putting together their stand, but being able to have the say so of what they're going to sell their lemonade for and how good it was. And then, of course, you had your profit or you didn't have your profit. But anyways, these are things that we want to think about when we're helping our kids develop their strengths and helping them discover who they truly are. Okay, so number 5 is a big one. And if you can see, it's effective oral and written communication. This was the number 1 complaint for both employers and college professors alike. Young people coming out of high school and coming out of college are struggling to communicate effectively. A senior executive from Dell shared in the Tony Wagner piece of information that I came upon. He said the problem isn't their writing, it's their ability to think things through. Okay, kids are struggling analyzing things. They're struggling with their ability to think about things. They're struggling with reasoning. He said their writing is fuzzy because their thoughts are fuzzy. So we need to help our kids be able to express themselves. And these are just a couple of the key things and key ways that we need to help with this communication skills. Okay, we all know they have their own language. I mean, I just learned the other day, G's, J's. Okay. And we all know how they talk and how they use their things. But when it comes to business and when it comes to college and when it comes to doing emails and letters and reports and presentations, there are certain skills that kids need to have. And so we look at verbal skills, and you can do this at home. You can have your kids present on something. So Monica said, hey, my kids want to do a lemonade stand. Okay, well, give me your business proposition. Let me hear it. Let me hear why you want to do this. Let me hear how you're going to do this. So you kind of put them in the spot and you're making them think things through. I mean, they might even be like, wait, Mom, we're going to go back to the room and we're going to think about this. Okay, Monica, I know you're dying to say something.
I do. But the thing that I wanted to say is I make my kids do a presentation if they want me to pay for something big. So like when my oldest son wanted a cell phone, like he had to put a presentation together and present it to my husband and I of why we should get him a cell phone. Or like, and then for Cade, why should we get you a PlayStation? And so they have to put this presentation together and present it to the family.
Oh, I absolutely love that. I think that's so important that we have our kids do that. And you might think, well, I'm just getting you ready for that one-on-one communications class. No, you're not. You're getting them ready to be able to present themselves, whether they're doing it in front of one person or whether they're having to do it in front of, a room of people that they work with. Okay, so we think about those verbal skills, think about how you can support them. We want to make sure that when they're talking to you and they're sharing these things, that they're able to communicate and try to send the message they're trying to get out to you. You want them to help them be clear and be persuasive and to use appropriate language. I think that's the most important thing because we don't want bad habits to become something we do all the time. And so you correct that early. When we look at their written skills, we want them to be able to use their personal voice. And what does that mean? Well, that means to be persuasive, have that passion and that fire. See, what happens is, and I can tell you right now too, in English, I learned that I write an introduction, I write the body of the paper, and then a conclusion. But when we talk about personal voice, we can have that structure, but we want to not contain kids in an area. So we want them to share everything that they feel and everything that they want. We want them to know how to be able to explain things and how to argue without, fist fighting or things like that. We want them to be able to inspire people and to share their thoughts. And of course, like I said, their written skills are so important because they're going to use them in emails, text message, social media, blogs, letters, and so forth. To just kind of give you a little bit example, I told Monica I was going to go out for just a second. I ordered Buffalo Wild Wings and I accidentally placed the order twice. So the guy called me and he says, "Hey, is this Martha?" And I said, "Yes, this is Martha. This is she. Did you order twice?" He didn't even tell me where he was from. And I was like, "Is this Buffalo Wild Wings?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "I don't know. I might have ordered twice." He's like, "Well, I got you down for 2 orders." And I was like, okay. So I kind of walked him backwards through the process, but it's so important to teach our kids these kind of skills. And these are things that you can do as they're littles. You know, I'm sure a 5-year-old could argue with you for days. Okay. And then the next thing is presentation skills. So as part of the 21st century, man, we're not the only hot thing in the room. I'm sure all of you are probably doing multiple things and listening to me rant in here. So we're not the only thing. We have to learn to grab people's attention. We have to learn to be interesting and valuable. We have to know how to use technology, which I've terribly failed today. And then I put down elevator speeches because I think these are a really awesome thing. So a couple of years ago, I hope y'all are familiar with FCCLA. That's FCS organization, Family Consumer Science Organization. And so what I had my students do is everybody that was in FCCLA had to create an elevator pitch. And it was an exciting thing for all of them. And this was like a 30-second pitch to tell me who you are. So I encourage you to do that with your kids. I think that would be really awesome. And if they ever came across somebody who they were being introduced to new, you could say, "Hey, give them your elevator speech. Let them know who you are." So these are just fun things that you could do along the way. Okay, I know I'm running out of time, right, Monica? I can see you. All right, so accessing and analyzing information, man, guys, there's so much information. Our kids are being drowned in information. It's important for them to know what information is important, what matters, what is critical, and what we won't even care about tomorrow. So disseminating and going through information, they need to know how to do that. And so that's helpful to have those conversations with them about that. And the last one he said, Dr. Wagner said, is curiosity and imagination. And that curiosity is a strong desire to learn something new. We can do this by asking our kids questions, by allowing our kids to explore things that are interesting to them, by providing them toys that make them do things, build things. We also give kids the opportunity to investigate. We want to encourage that problem solving, and we want them to use their imagination. I don't know about you guys, but one of my favorite shows is Top Chef. I love when they have a basket and you have no idea what you're going to do with what's in there, and they give you something like the beating heart of a cow or something, and they have to create a meal with that. This would be fun to do at home with your kids. Let them take the wheel. Let them take ownership of their life and start teaching them those skills so where that they feel like they can take any stake from any fence at any time. Just a little bit more for employees, what you can do as an employee, how you can be a good team member. And then this one here is like good work ethic. I think it's important that we tell our kids how to show up in time and how to have those good manners. For me personally, my dad always taught us that if you weren't there at least 5 minutes before the time, that you were running late. And so one time he said, "I'm taking you all to Six Flags, but you need to be in the car by 6:30. My brother got there after 6:35, and my dad said, "Everybody out of the car, we're not going." Okay. Obviously, I've gotten over it because I'm still talking about it. But I can't tell you how big of an effect that had on my life because it taught me the importance of showing up and being there. And I think that's so important for our kids. Okay. So last but not least, we're coming toward the end. I think the game changer we need to consider is our kids are exposed to so many things, and technology, like I said, has been a blessing and a curse at the same time. We do have to monitor that. We need to teach our kids that this this part of their life is a virtual resume that extends from their life resume. That this resume here, that now employers are looking at it, colleges are looking at it, and I can't tell you the number of kids and people that have lost jobs because of what they have put on the internet. And so have these conversations early with your kids and talk to them about this. I think it's important, and I wouldn't want it to cost them something big in life. So in all of this, our kids are awesome. They have the world at the tip of their fingertips, but they are positive. In fact, a slow day for our kids is slow internet. Okay, that's a bad day for them. So it's important for us to see their talents, to help develop their strengths, to appreciate who they really are on the inside, and then to help them become the stars that they should be. And all of these folks were able to do that. I have a page here with all the good stuff, but I want to end with this. If these two people are able to find a little bit of shine, I know that all of your kids will too. My parting words to you is that remember, hope is an action. You all had things that you hoped for your kids. We have to put that in motion. They're all stars, and we're all going to help them shine. Thanks for hanging out with me today.
Thank you, Martha. Thank you so much. And I hope you have to keep that picture of your hair up.
Oh, no.
Love the hair. Love the hair. Okay, so if y'all know, after each session, we do a door prize. Let me share the spinner. And then we have another session right after this session about bullying. So if you're interested in that, it's a great speaker as well. And Ale, if you hit this, you're gonna have to get.
Oh my God, it's necklace.
No!
I lost my luck.
Yes!
So,
Congratulations. And we will see y'all on the next session if y'all can. But after I leave a session, if I have conversations later with my husband or my friend, my girlfriends or whoever, I always feel I got something. So I hope that y'all could have these conversations later with your family members, husband, and so on. So thank y'all for attending. We'll see y'all.